Okay, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing the Map-1 section. We've done everything over here. So now we're going to do the Map-1 section. And of course, in order to do the Map-1 section, we need to talk about something called a map. So let's go over here and talk about maps. So first of all, actually, before we even go into the code, let's talk about conceptually what is a map. So basically, I'm sure you've all seen diagrams in your math classes possibly before. That have like some numbers here, like 1, 2, 3, and then these numbers are like connected by arrows to like another box, it's like 7, 8, 9, and maybe like, you have like some arrows going between them. And this might be used to represent like functions, right? Like here's a function. Here's the domain, here's the range, inputs going to outputs. So basically, all a map is just a representation of this kind of thing. It contains a bunch of things in the domain. They're called the keys of the map. And then it contains a bunch of things in the range, which is called the value of the map. So all it's doing, so basically what a map does is it lets you get from anything over here, from any key in the map, to its corresponding value. And we see that every key has exactly one corresponding value. And that's basically what a map is. Now a map can go from any type to any other type. So here's like another map. So this map can go from like strings to Boolean. So let's go, say it goes from like has cat, and it has like pair, and then we have like dog. Those are my keys. And then the values of my map, they can be true and false. So I like true and false and true. And maybe like the meaning of this map is it maps each string to true or false. True if it's an animal, false if it's not an animal. So maybe it's something like that. And so that is basically what a map is. It maps keys to values, and you can get out a value by giving it the key. So you ask the map, hey, what is the value that corresponds to this key? No. Notice that you can't go backwards because the values can have duplicates. So like I could have two values that are true, right? Because if you ask me, okay, what's the key that corresponds with the value true? Well, there are two trues in my set of values. So it doesn't really make sense, right? Because which one should you give me, cat or dog, right? We don't know. So one of the rules on a map is that the set of keys here has to be unique. Or in other words, there cannot be duplicates in the set of keys. We can have no duplicate keys. Okay, so that's basically what a map is. So let's do an example of a map. So I'll actually make this map right here, this red map that maps the strings to booleans. So the way you make a map is you put the word map here, and by the way, you have to import it. It's in the java.util package, so you can do java.util.star. This will give me every class in the java.util package, every type in the java.util package. Um, so map is one of those types. So the way you make a map is you just put the type of the keys. In this case, we're going to do strings, and then the type of the values. And these have to be reference types, so we'll use Boolean, not like Boolean with a capital B, not a lowercase b, which is the primitive type. Okay, so map from strings to Booleans. Okay, so that's my map. Okay, and then the way you create a map is you say new hash map over here. And inside of these angled brackets, you also put the type. So this is like what we had with list, where we had a list on this side and array list on this side. So a hash map is just a kind of map. It's a subtype of map. So we can assign a hash map to a map variable. And so that's how you create a map. Now this part is optional, just like how on array lists, on the right hand side of the equal sign, that part was optional. Okay, so by default this map is empty. If I print out the map, it'll give me just an empty pair of curly braces. Maps are printed out with curly braces, unlike lists and arrays, which are printed out with square brackets. That doesn't really matter though. And we can print out the size of the map. The size of the map is the number of keys in the map. And notice that the number of keys is going to equal the number of values. So, so there's nothing like weird going on there. There's the same amount of keys as values in the map. So the size is the number of keys in the map, which is also the number of values in the map. So the size of the map right now is 0. Okay, And I'm going to just print out a blank line, which you can do like this, so we can separate some things. So what if I want to actually put things into the map? So here's how you do that. You do map.put, and then you put as your first argument a key, and then as a second argument that key's corresponding value. So we had cat is true. And then I can also put pair was false, and then dog was true. And then if I print out the map, then it prints out this map, and you see it goes from key equals value. So cat is true, dog is true. Now notice that when you're using a hash map, there are other kinds of maps that work differently, but when you're using a hash map, you have to, or sorry, when you're using a hash map, the order uh, of the keys doesn't matter. So you can put the keys in any order, and they'll print out in any order. It's effectively random. There is something behind the scenes managing the order, but the order is not something that can be easily determined or discerned by a human reader. So the order is effectively random. So that means the order you print out a hash map will be will appear random and not in the order you necessarily put them in. Okay, so that's how we can put things in a map. Now, each of these things in a map, these key value pairs, is called an entry. So this is one entry in the map. This entry contains the key pair and the value false. This entry here contains the key cat and the value true. This entry here contains the key dog and the value true. So these are called keys. Now, if you have a key and you want to ask what's the corresponding value, you can just do map.get and then you pass the value. So if I do map.get pair, that'll get me the corresponding value, or the value that corresponds with the key pair, which is false in this case. Now, if you try to get a value that's not in the map, so like carrot is not in our map right now, it'll give you null. So null is what it will give you, and that means that basically this key was not in your map. Okay, and then you can of course get the size as we've already seen. You can clear a map by doing map.clear. So if I do that, I'm going to print out another blank line so you can separate things. But if I print out my map now, it is once again empty. So that is basically how maps work. Now, if you want to iterate over a map, it's a little bit interesting. So you have a few methods in the map that give you access to its like keys or values or entries. So let's delete this part where we clear it. I don't actually want to clear it. So if you want to get the keys of the map, there's a method on the map on maps that is called keySet, and it returns a set of all the keys in the map. So that my keys have type string, so it's going to be a set of strings, and I'll just call it keys equals map.keySet. And that is basically how we can get all the keys in the map. So we talked about a set, right? A set, the order is not specified. There are some kinds of sets that specify an order, some kinds that don't. For a hash map, the order of the keys will not be specified, so it could be in any order. But sets do not allow duplicates, so that's why it returns a set, because sets cannot contain duplicate elements. Okay, so now I have all the keys, and if I want to loop over this, so for string key colon keys, I can loop over this because I talked about how you can loop over any collection, and a set is a collection, so I can use an enhanced for loop to loop over the collection. And I can print out each key here. So print out the key. And it'll print out all of the keys on their own line. I'm going to do a blank line here so we can see a bit clearer. Okay, so as you can see, it prints out all of the keys from my map here. If you want to get all the values, you can do that as well. So I can do, so the values are going to be returned as a collection. So if we're talking about, let me do a quick drawing real quick. So we talked about, right, how an array list is a kind of list and a hash set is a kind of set. So like if we have a list here, we talked about array list is a subtype of list. So the way we draw that, sometimes we like to do diagrams of different types. So if you have a list, the way you say that array list, not array lit, array list is a subtype of list, we can do it like, we can put boxes around them and then draw an arrow from list to array list. And that means that list is a supertype of array list. And we also know that set is a type, and there is another kind of thing. There's another thing called a hash set, which is a kind of set. So hash set is a subtype of set. And we draw an arrow like that. Now that's all wonderful, but there is a type called collection that is a supertype of both of these types. So collection is a supertype. It's the common supertype of both list and set. So, and by the way, just because collection is not directly a supertype of array list doesn't mean it's not a supertype. Collection is a supertype of everything down here. So the values method, if I go on a map, there's a method called map.values that returns a collection of the values of my map. So I can say collection Boolean, because my values are Boolean, is map.values. And now I'll call it, okay, values. That's my collection of values, and then I can just say for Boolean value colon values. As I said, Boolean, capital B Boolean and lowercase b Boolean are basically interchangeable. So I could do a lowercase b Boolean value, and I could print out the value. And I'm going to do a blank line here as well to clear things up. So now it prints out all my values here. So that's how you can loop over your your map. If you wanted to like do the keys and values together, all you have to do is loop through the keys, and if you want to get the corresponding value, you can just say boolean value equals map.getKey. And so now, inside of this loop, I have access to the key and the value, and I can loop through them, together basically. So that's how you could do this one. So I could say like, for example, I could print out the key plus equals value. And so if I do that, you see that it prints out right here, like the key equals the value, each on its own line. So I could do that as well. Yeah, and there are plenty of, just like useful methods on map, but I'm only going to show you a few of them. So I'll give you, I think, 2 more of the methods on map, and you're free to look into the rest of them if you want to. And by the way, you can look into the other methods by just going to the API and searching map here. And that will let you see all of the methods on map. There are quite a few useful ones. You can see more documentation about maps here. Okay, so the other 2 methods I'll show you. One is the remove method, so you can do map.remove. And what you do is you just pass in a key. So I can say remove pair. And actually, I'll remove cat here. And so now if I print out the map, I'll do a blank line here as well. If I print out the map, you see that the map, sorry, I don't want to print out the remove thing. So if I print out the map now that I've removed cat, it now doesn't contain cat. So there you go. Another thing is the contains key method, which returns a Boolean true or false, true if the map contains the value you pass it. So map.contains key. And so does this map contain the key dog? Well, let's see. If I run this, it prints out true because the map does contain the key dog. And okay, one more bonus method. You can also do contains value. So does this contain the value true? And the answer is yes, it does. It does contain true as one of the values. So those are some of the methods you can do on maps. All right, so now getting into our actual coding here. Let's just go straight into it. Okay, so modify and return the given map as follows. If the key A has a value, set the key B to have that value, and set the key A to have the value nothing. Basically, or the empty string. Basically, B is a bully, taking the value and replacing it with the empty string. Okay, pause and try this one. Okay, so one thing I didn't mention, which is kind of relevant here, is that if you do the put method, so let's say we do the put method, and let's say we map A to candy. Well, if later I go and say map.put A, comma, carrot, I really like carrots apparently. So if you do another put that puts the same key but to a different value, that value will just be overwritten. Your program won't crash, nothing bad will happen. The value will just be overwritten. So yeah, so if you do if I put A and I map A to something else, yeah, A will be overwritten. So So basically what the put method does is if that key is not already in the map, it adds it to the map with the corresponding value. And if that key is already in the map, then it overwrites that entry. Okay, so now we can do this one. So if A has a value, so first of all, if A has a value, so A will have a value if it is a key in the map, right? So A only has a value if it's actually in the map. So the way I test if A is actually a key in the map, I say if map contains the key A. And I'm going to make my editor a bit bigger. So if the map contains the key A, then A is in the map, and A has a value. So now I just need to set B to have that value. So the value of A, the value is going to be map.getA. That's how I can get the value that corresponds to A. And basically it says set B to have that value. So I just do map.put B to have that value. And if I do this, oh, and it says I need to return the map back, which is fine. Okay, and let's see. Oh, and I also need to set A to have the empty string as its value. So put A, and I'm going to overwrite the value of A with the empty string. And there we go. That's how we could do it. We can look at their solution, and it's pretty much the same. They didn't use a variable. They just inlined this, which you can, of course, totally do. All right, let's keep going. Okay, if the key A has a value, set the key B to have that same value. In all cases, remove the key C, leaving the rest of the map unchanged. All right, pause and try this. Okay, so one thing to note about the remove method is if you try to remove a key from a map and that key's not in the map, the remove method will just do nothing. So so it's not going to crash your program, nothing bad's going to happen. If you try to remove something that's not there, the remove method will just do nothing. So, and that is going to be relevant here because we're going to try to remove C. Okay, so it says if A has a value, set B to have that same value. So if A has a value, contains key A, then set B to have that same value, so map.put B with the value of A. And then we just need to remove C from the map, so map.remove C. And then I just need to return the map. So that is how we do this one here. Pretty straightforward. These problems are just to help you get the hang of the different methods and practice, using them. All right. For this problem, the map may or may not contain the A and B keys. If both keys are present, append their two string values together and store the result under the key AB. Pause and try this. All right, so if they are both present, so if map contains the key A and map contains the key B, then all I need to do is put under the key AB, under AB, I need to put the concatenation of their two values. So map.getA plus map.getB. We'll concatenate them. And yeah, all I need to do is return the map. So that's how we could do that one. All right, if the key ice cream is present, set its value to cherry. In all cases, set the key bread to have the value butter. Pause and try this one. Okay, so if ice cream is present, so map.contains key ice cream, set its value to cherry, so map.put ice cream cherry. And then let's see, in all cases, set the key bread to have the value butter, so map.put bread butter. Okay, and then I think that's all we need to do. So I'm just going to return map here, and it looks like we did it. Okay, so this solution will totally work, but we can make it a little better using another method of the map class, or the map type that I haven't told you about. So that method is the replace method. And basically what the replace method does is it's like put, but it will only do something if the key is already mapped to a value. So I can replace ice cream, or I can replace the value ice cream, the key ice cream to have the value cherry, and that'll basically do the same as these lines here. So I can delete that and it'll work. So basically what the replace method does is it says, if this key exists in the map, then set its value to cherry. Otherwise, don't do anything. That's how the replace method works. So it basically only does something if this key already exists in the map. And that is exactly what this problem asks for, so it is a great thing to use. All right, modify and return the map as follows. If the key ice cream has a value, set that as the value for the key yogurt also. If the key spinach has a value, change that value to nuts. Pause and try this one. Okay, so if the key ice cream has a value, so map.contains key ice cream, then set that as the value for yogurt also. So map.put yogurt, the same value as ice cream, and then all I need to do is say, it says if the key spinach has a value, change that value to nuts. So I can say map.replace spinach nuts and return the map here. Right, and there we go. All right, that is how we could do this one here. All right, given a map of food keys and topping values, modify and return the map as follows. If the key potato has a value, set that as the value for the key fruit, or sorry, for the key fries. If the key salad has a value, set that as the value for the key spinach. Pause and try this one. Okay, so if the key potato has a value, set that as the value for the key fries. So map.put fries, map.get potato. And then if the key salad has a value, set that as the value for the key spinach. So if salad has a value, set that to be the value of spinach. And then return the map. Okay, so there is that one. All right, if the keys A and B are both in the map and have equal values, remove them both. Pause and try this. Okay, so if map.contains key, so if A is in the map and B is in the map, and they both have equal values, so and map.get A dot equals map.get B, then I'll make this onto another line, I guess. Then I need to remove them both. So I need to do map.remove A and map.remove B. Okay, so that is how we could do this one. If it contains both the keys and their values are equal, then we'll remove them both. There we go. Okay, if exactly one of the keys A or B has a value in the map, but not both, set the other to have that same value in the map. Pause and try this one. Okay, so here is what we'll do here. So it does say, if A or B, but not both. So you should be thinking XOR. In this case, XOR is not really going to be helpful, I don't think. Okay, but we'll go ahead and do this one. Let me make it bigger. Here we go. So if A or B has a value, but not both, set the other to have the same value. So if A has a value, so if map contains key A, and it does not contain B, I need to set B to have the value of A. So map.put B, put B with the value of A, so map.get A. Okay, and then otherwise, if we do not contain A, but we do contain B, then put A to have the value B, and then return the map. Okay, and that is how we could do that one. Let's see, yeah, so that is what we could do there. Nothing else to really say on that one. Okay, last one. If the keys A and B have values that have different lengths, set C to have the longer value. If the values exist and have the same length, change them both to the empty string in the map. Pause and try this one. Okay, so A and B both have to have values for me to do anything. So I'm going to say if either one of them doesn't have a value, or map does not contain B, I'm just going to return map right away without changing it. Okay, and now I know that the map contains both A and B where my cursor is. So if they both have the same length, I'll actually get the two things here. I'll say A equals the value of A, so get A, and B equals map.get B. So I'll say if they have the same length, so if A.length equals B.length, then it says set them each to the empty string. So map dot put, I could put A to the empty string. I could also do dot replace here since I know they're both in the map. Okay, and then otherwise I need to set C to have the longer value. So I'll just say if I'll actually use a ternary here. Actually no, I'll show you the ternary later. I'll do it with ifs first though. So if A.length is greater than B.length, then put C to have the value of A, and then otherwise put C to have the value of B. Okay. And of course return the map. And that's how we could do this one. If you wanted to do this part in here a little more concisely, you could use ternaries, and we could say, okay, the value of C is going to be, well, if A's length is greater than B's length, it's going to be A, otherwise it's going to be B. And that's how we could do that one there. All right, so that is the map1 section, another pretty concise, pretty short one here. And I'll see you next time for map 2.